Hi Scorpio, welcome to your March 2019 love reading for single people. It's Raina here. I've done this in the past and I decided to revive this type of reading. And it's fun sometimes just to focus on one group of people who are not currently involved in a relationship and just talking about people who are looking for love. And we have here as the status of your life right now, the Wheel of Fortune, which is a great card, and it speaks to being aligned, maybe being in the right place at the right time. So that's always great with love. Speaking of alignment, in March, there's going to be a new moon in Pisces on March 6th, and this is your 5th house of romance. So that could be like astrological timing, and so that could be great for love. The past position that might be influencing the situation is represented by the 10 of Swords. So this is a card of betrayal. Even if you're somebody who is single right now, you may still be remembering a relationship where you felt like the other person was disloyal to you, like being cheated on, being betrayed in some way. It doesn't have to be infidelity, but some other type of betrayal. And that may be in the back of your mind. This could be someone who is an air sign. We do have quite a few air signs here. So I actually did Aquarius's reading and I got Scorpio. I think that was the card that I can't remember. But so the same with you. This could be an Aquarius person. This could be a Gemini or a Libra person that was in your past. And the thing is that I would say is that it looks like things are very positive right now. So while we may not be able to control if somebody decides to do something that is dishonorable, we can control whether or not we're going to allow that to define the rest of our lives. So that's about you letting go of the need to hold on to this situation. And, sometimes forgiveness issues are involved where you might feel like very angry at that person. No one can, I don't think you can speed up the process of forgiveness per se if you're still kind of turning it over in your mind, and especially if it's fresh, it may be very hard to do so. But, pray about wanting to get this out of your system, of having a sense of resentment. If you do have resentment towards somebody from your past, try and work on that, because even though it can't be faked and it can only come in its own time, some people deliberately hold on to resentment because they have a mistaken belief that it's empowering to them. They think that if they are angry about a situation, that somehow will punish the other person. And the other person's, going on with their life and they're having a grand old time. So don't think for 1 minute that your resentment is going to really make much of a difference in their life. And also try to understand, even if the person did something wrong, try to understand why they might have done it so that you don't feel like such a victim, so you don't feel like you were dumped on. It's really for your own benefit ultimately, but it still bears repeating. The advice is represented by the 5 of Swords. Let me bring out this card. This is the challenge card, the 2 of Swords. You may be dealing with some kind of a choice, or you may be at loggerheads about something with somebody else. And again, I suppose that Ten of Swords person could be involved. But I'm trying to keep this as a singles reading and not involve another party. I just wanted to call attention to that, because usually if I see a Two of Swords in a love reading, I think of somebody who is trying to decide between two people. And when you're trying to decide, maybe this is not you. Maybe you are interested in somebody who is not sure if they want to stay married, and so you're kind of waiting around for them. I don't know. I don't know what that Two of Swords means, like what kind of decision has to be made, unless there's somebody that you're tempted to go back with who betrayed you already. And the advice is the Five of Swords. So I think I've done a number of these readings so far this month for singles. Scorpio might be the first sign where there is somebody active who is in maybe your recent past, who you're thinking about going back with, even though you are technically single. In that case, the Five of Swords warns you that there may be some dishonesty going on here, where somebody is presenting themselves in a way that is not correct, that they are lying to you, in other words. And so if that makes sense to you, then heed that warning, because I think in some cases people decide to go back to a former partner, not so much because the relationship was good, but because not having it disrupted their life. And they want that life back, where they were in a routine. And it just doesn't work that way. I mean, if you can't, there's that saying, you can't enter the same river twice. The river has changed, and so have you. And there's to me with this is that you may be really on a winning streak of sorts. Maybe the Wheel of Fortune is you professionally, and some past situation may be trying to pull you back down. So be very careful, especially since in March there's a Mercury retrograde, and that could also indicate that you'll hear from somebody from the past. You don't want to be the person who just decides to take somebody back because you want that, maybe they were the one who left you, and it made you feel like you weren't okay, and so now you're just, eager to go back with that person. No, I mean, that's not necessarily the right thing. There was a reason that the two of you broke up, and you should really realize that. There may be somebody who's a swords person around you in general. If some of the other things I've said doesn't make sense, and this person isn't good for you, maybe that's why it's in a challenged position. But you find yourself drawn to them. I think especially if they're a Gemini, they may be dishonest. They may be telling you half-truths. Libra, I guess, too. I don't know. Aquarius is the one sign that like I said, there was a synergy with the other, with the Aquarius reading. But in terms of, I could see, especially with the Gemini, with the Five of Swords, I don't know if that's connected to Gemini specifically, but that kind of deception. What is coming in is represented by the Ace of Swords. So this is about seeing a situation as it truly is. So with the Two of Swords, the woman is blindfolded. You might be in denial at that point. And now, for whatever reason, you see exactly what time it is, exactly what's going on here. The ace can point to beginnings with a swords, with an air sign person. I always think the sun sign, but I notice that other readers include the moon and the rising sign. And this is because sometimes if a person doesn't have a certain sign as their sun sign, they still may appear to be that sign in the moon position or the rising sign. The rising sign, it'll be more of the way that they dress or the way that they appear in a more superficial way when you first meet them. And the moon sign is more of like the personality, their emotional response. So with an air sign, this is somebody who tends to be very good at communication, and they are somewhat detached, so they're not necessarily going to be full of passion, speaking loudly or emoting or anything like that. They may be very analytical, and there's a coolness about them, but a friendliness, not like coldness, but just not, you know, like a fire sign tends to be very, you know, their voice tends to rise very often, and they it might exaggerate things quite a bit. And a water sign person is very nurturing usually and sensitive, and so this person isn't really necessarily like that. And you may be starting a relationship with this type of person. And again, because of those top three cards, I don't know if that's the case. I think it's more like the case of you seeing through someone more than starting a relationship, because all three of those top cards are swords, and they're not pleasant cards. None of them. The two of swords is probably the best out of the three of them, but that's not saying much. No, I guess it kind of is. The two of swords is just having a hard time deciding what path to take. But the ace of swords is like, okay, I see what this person's trying to do, and I'm not willing to put up with it. And then we have here, the outcome is the death card. So endings, but they're endings that are coming in a very, if you want to call it, organic way. They're not, there's nothing outrageous about this ending. It makes perfect sense. And this is your card, Scorpio. So you may be saying to me, but you know, what's going to happen? Am I going to find love? Well, of course, we have to acknowledge that this is a general reading. How many Scorpios are on this planet? So I don't expect that all of these cards are going to resonate with all of you. You'd have to have a personal reading, and I would, you know, do a, you know, even when I do love readings, I really focus on the natal chart rather than the cards. I do use them in a secondary way, but I just feel like they're too open for interpretation. And in this type of reading, what I would see here for whoever this resonates with is that you're like, things are going well for you right now, but there might be this residue of a past negative situation that hasn't really been put to bed. And now the death card suggests that you will finally get over someone. Now, I want to make it clear that this was for single people. But as I explained with another sign, unless you're very, very young, chances are you have a dating history. You have a relationship history. So we can't just say that when you're on the market, so to speak, that you have no past influences from relationships, no ties to anybody. you may have energetic ties, which are called energetic cords. And even if you don't want those cords, if you don't want to be connected to someone, you may feel helpless, like like that person is draining you psychically. But the point being that in this particular reading, unlike the other readings that I have done, I'm seeing some past relationship still affecting your ability to move on. But the last two cards are like you seeing the light and you maybe cutting it off for good. So that's good. So I'm going to leave it there, and I hope that you enjoyed this, Scorpio. If you'd like a personal reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.